pass me that moonshine.
Eavesdroppin.
Well, hello, Michelle.
Hi, Geordie. How you going?
I'm good. Yeah. What's going on? What's happening?
I'm covered in paint.
Good. As you should be.
I feel like I'm on the block. Only Australians will understand that.
Even I don't understand it. I am Australian-ish.
It's a reality TV show where lots of couples, have to renovate a house.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That sounds ridiculous. That's a reality show?
Yes, and you're all competing. And then there are the reveals of every room. You have to do one room a week.
Hang on. Didn't we have something like that here in the UK? Changing Rooms with Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen.
How many people were on it? Because this is like 8 couples or something.
No, I think it was just 2 sets, and maybe they knew each other and they'd have to come around and do, their neighbours living. Imagine me and the Wilmores, my lovely neighbours, the Wilmores, if they wanted me to come and do their bedroom and I had them come in here and do our study or something.
Okay.
And that was what they would do, and then at the end there's a big reveal and they go, oh my God, I fucking hate that.
What?
Of course I shouldn't have let him anywhere near my bedroom. What's that colour? That's disgusting. Yeah, usually it's a bit of drama because they hate what they've done to each other's houses. And of course it's guided by Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen. This is the 90s I'm talking about, I think.
Okay, well this is a little bit of an update, and I think there's like $100,000 as a prize.
Cash money, yeah.
There's cash money, there's prizes along the way. I mean, they're on an island at the moment and doing a hotel or like apartments, apart hotel rooms.
God, apart hotel.
Apart hotel.
I love the way you said that. Apart hotel. Like you've just made it up. Apart hotel. Hi, I'm just going to go stay in a apart hotel.
Apart hotel. It is a thing because we have them in Zermatt.
It's a stupid thing. It's a hybrid. Listen, enough of that nonsense. Michelle, you're Michelle.
You're Geordie.
Oh, that's right. And we are
Eavesdroppin.
Well, the podcast, but you are, dear listener. You are actually doing the verb. The verb, the doing
they're
thing.
Eavesdroppin.
Yeah.
It's a verb. It's a doing
They're
word.
doing it.
It's eavesdropping.
They're eavesdropping. Well done. Had a funny message from one of our regular eavesdroppers.
Who?
It was Charlene Happy Chappy, actually. Oops.
Okay.
You never know who's going to be next, do you? It's usually Safka or Shari or Charlene Happy Chappy. So I'm just going to find the message. Hang on a second. Sorry, because it only just happened.
Did she say, I can't believe you thought it was my 600-pound wife?
She didn't say that, no.
No?
She didn't pull me up on that, Michelle, because she's kind.
She's a nice person.
She is a very nice person, and her mum is getting a shout-out today. Hi, Charlene's mum, because she's now an eavesdropper. Welcome. If only I knew mum's name.
Hi, Mum.
She said she listened to the pod when Charlene was visiting her, and she enjoyed it. She just has to teach her how podcasts work now in order to be able to listen to it every week. And after listening, it must have been a ghosty episode, because she said nonchalantly, oh yes, I haven't had any more visits since the 2 last year. And when Charlene looked a bit confused, she said, oh yes, I thought I told you I had a visitor. Apparently the house, her mum's house, is haunted.
No.
You.
How did Chappy Happy Charlene not know this?
Well, she does now, and she's given me some information, but I might save that for our next supernatural episode. Okay. Because this week, Michelle, it's not about supernatural. And before we go on, is it about supernatural? No, we're doing real life. We're doing conspiratories, aren't we?
Yes, but I've got a bit of a crossover here, so just to warn you.
Did you get the wrong information, did you?
No.
Did you get it wrong again, Michelle?
No, it's just that I thought it was one thing, turned into another thing. That's how I roll.
So you researched something, and because you suggested this week's theme.
I did indeed.
You went off and researched it and then discovered it wasn't what you thought it was.
Yes, and then I was left high
2,000 words in. Okay. Well, before we say any more on the matter, I have a massive apology to make to Ray. Apologies, Ray.
Is this because now he's finally realised you were talking about something throbbing between his legs?
No, he's not bothered by that as far as I can make out.
Okay.
It's more along the lines of me misreading his message. Do you remember last time we spoke, I said something along the lines of, oh, now he's watching Blind Date UK. He's well into it. You know, he's just texted me to say he's watching Blind Date UK. And I was like, I can't imagine him watching that. But hey ho, there you go. Off you go, Ray. Enjoy yourself. No, he's not watching it, Michelle. He's working on it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's in it. And I thought...
Oh, I'd love that.
I would love to
I'd
see
love that.
who ends up with Ray on a blind date.
Do you know what? I reckon some of our listeners might end up with Ray, because I have heard some very positive feedback about his sexy voice, a bit like Bill Nighy.
Really?
Yes, gentle, a gentle dulcet tone, Ray. Apparently that's what you've got.
Wow, I heard some comments as well about Ray's voice. Someone said, did he smoke 50 before he came on?
Ray. Well, there was a bit of confusing back and forth after the text message he initially sent me, and I announced it on air, obviously, when we were recording the podcast. And then as he was saying more things about it, it suddenly dawned on me that I got the wrong end of the stick again.
He wasn't watching it.
No.
He's working on it.
He was mad, Michelle. He did me one of those red-faced emojis. Yeah. He said, you better put that right.
Well, I've had that from Eavesdropper Steph about Celine Dion multiple times.
We always upset people, don't we?
Oh, we do. Ray, if you are listening, I want to know if you've ever worked on Naked Attraction. And if so... If someone didn't show up, would you step in?
Showing up and showing out, and here comes Ray showing out. Imagine the thing slowly revealing Ray's hairy ankles and then going up a bit longer, a bit higher.
I thought you were going to say Ray's hairy ankle.
Michelle! I could have said something really rude, but I wasn't going to save Ray's blushes. Not like you.
I could just imagine the producer comes in. Ray, oh my God. Joe didn't show up. You've got to go on and save the day. And then Ray has to reveal all.
He's suddenly the oldest man in the lineup.
But the thing is, as long as he's got those dulcet tones, Ray's a shoo-in.
Oh, he will always get the ladies, I tell you what.
Oh, Ray, you know I've got a soft spot for you. Don't worry, Ray. I'm just joking.
She sure does. Big old soft spot. Talking about soft spots, I loved watching Chaos on Netflix, and it's finished for us now. And my daughter joined us because we do love a Greek myth. Turns out she's also got a soft spot for the older man. We are all in love, including my husband, with Stephen Delane's character, Prometheus. And why not? Because he invented man. He made man. Doesn't say this in the program, but Prometheus is basis of the myth of Prometheus. Mm. He was a titan, which predates the gods, and he made man out of mud. Thank you, Prometheus.
So we're basically mud.
Yes, in the Greek myths, yes.
But isn't mud just poo? No, I'm sorry, Georgie. Go back if you don't know what we're talking about.
Another misconception from me. Geordie Gron, she's sometimes wrong. That's what we say.
Do you know what? I think the best people are happy to be wrong.
Happy to be wrong.
Happy to be wrong.
Don't love being wrong. Don't love it. Prefer to be right, especially when I'm in an argument with my husband.
We all prefer to be right, but I can take it when I'm wrong.
Can you?
I can.
Let's find out how wrong you are today when we talk about the conspiracy theories.
Don't talk about the moon, because we're not going to agree on the moon landing.
Right.
I know that makes me sound like a crazy person.
Does. Yes.
It's okay.
You're happy to be crazy.
That. I do not think the Earth is flat.
People think that you do because of the moon landing stance. Yes. People do think that they know there's something kooky about you. They can't remember. Is it because she thinks the Earth is flat?
Oh, my God. I hope you put them right.
Yeah, I did. No, it's not that. She just doesn't believe in the moon landings is what I say. And people often do, I suppose.
An eye roll?
An eye roll when you are ready. You are ready to accept some really outlandish facts or misfacts.
Oh, look.
False facts. You love it.
No one can prove.
No one can prove stuff.
No one can prove stuff. And
no, not even the scientists. They might have it wrong too.
Well, I think they do often.
What does your friend Neil the scientist, by the way, say about your take on the moon landings?
Oh, I think he thinks I'm ridiculous. But, he's still my friend. So it's all okay.
We're all still your friend, Michelle. We don't judge.
Look, I don't try and convince anyone. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion about the moon landing, about everything, in fact. I don't try to convince anyone of anything. We're all too old. too old for that.
Imagine being in the 20s, though, the 1920s, for example. You know that there was a lot of cult action back then, by the way, Michelle.
Yes.
What's with
I
that?
do.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, look, cults, spiritualism, I think it was a time of people having an open mind, boom and bust and...
Between the wars, disillusionment.
Yes, and I think looking for something, seeking something more than what they can see and taste and touch, and feeling like there's got to be something more to all of this. A little bit like, what is my purpose? And maybe, looking
breaking free of the constraints of society a little bit, or the constraints of religion at least, and thinking, oh, hang on a second.
Pass me that moonshine.
Pass me that moonshine. I could start a religion and call it something else.
Do you have a particular cult you're thinking of?
I do actually. And it's one that seems to be quite well known, but I had never heard of it before. I wonder if you had. And it started because the Los Angeles police discovered a body of a 16-year-old girl, Willa Rhodes, on October the 7th in 1929 in Venice Beach in California. And this was the beginning of the uncovering of one of the weirdest cults, like I said, that I had never heard of. And then I researched it this week, and I discovered that other podcasts have retold this wacky tale, but we're going to give it the Eavesdroppin spin this week.
Okay.
Let me tell you a little bit more about it. So Willa Rhodes, her body was found embalmed in salt and spices in a specially made casket under the floorboards, which were under the bed of her foster parents' house. So in their bedroom, under the floorboards, they had her in this coffin wrapped up in salt and weird shit. And there was another coffin down there with 7 dead dogs in it.
The fact that she's been salted and spiced, I mean, are they going to stick her on a spit roast?
Why do you say it like that?
It sounds like they're going to eat her. Come on, they're going to stick her on a spit roast and put her over some flames and have a little hungy or whatever.
Well, wait till you hear the rest of this story, Michelle, because obviously when the police found this, they immediately believed that she had been sacrificed as part of a cult ritual because of the unusual aspects of it. But the girl's parents confessed to the police that Willa had died 4 years before.
And no one noticed she was gone?
Well, I think her parents definitely knew she died 4 years before, so they knew.
But what about her friends? Weren't her friends like, where's Willa?
Where's Willa? No, I don't know, because all I can tell you is what I know, and it's really hard to get the info because it's all gleaned from like old newspaper articles and different sources, which I have included for you to add to the Patreon. But a lot of the info changes from article to article, so I don't really know how accurate these things are. She died in 1925, and her parents preserved her on ice for more than a year, hoping that she would be resurrected through the powers of the cult that they belonged to. Now, this cult was called, and tell me if you've heard of it, because I hadn't, the Divine Order of the Royal Arm of the Great Seal, a.k.a. the Great 11, a.k.a. the Blackburn Cult. Heard of it?
No, I haven't.
No. Willa's death didn't appear to be violent, and after coronial examinations of the body failed to show how she had died, it was determined by the information that the mother gave and the parents gave that Willa had died from a nasty tooth infection.
Oh.
But the reason why they found her in the first place was because, don't forget this is the 20s, that's why the tooth infection probably got out of hand. But they were investigating charges of embezzlement brought by a man called Clifford R. Dabney, who is the nephew of a wealthy oil magnate. Now, he accused 2 leaders of this cult, named May Otis Blackburn, hence the name of the cult, and her daughter Ruth Wieland Rizzio, of embezzling roughly $50,000 from him, which is worth a lot more these days, probably about £750,000 or something. He had told police that he paid her money to finish her book, which is called The Sixth Seal, which claimed to hold all the secrets of the universe. And this cult had actually come into existence after May and her daughter, Ruth, decided, or were told, that they were the 2 witnesses which were described in the book of Revelation 11, /3 I don't know much about Bibles, so apologies if I've got that wrong. Basically, it's a part of the Bible which says, "And I will appoint my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1260 days, clothed in sackcloth."
Oh.
They claimed that they were those witnesses from that Bible.
Okay.
They basically said that for many years during May's life, a spiritual dove and a mental voice, mental, wherever she went, while Ruth had heard strange singing voices and poetry. So this all of a sudden happened in their lives. And a couple of years later, they had amassed a little cult. And they also said that these 2 angels, one of them, Gabriel, a pretty famous one, appointed them to write this book, which was to be filled with divine knowledge and revelations that, listen to this bit, once the book was published, it would set off apocalyptic events over the next few years, bring about the revelations, bring about the end of days.
Okay.
But also, and the reason why Dabney, the oil magnate's nephew, gave the money over to help her finish this book, it was supposed to reveal lost measurements that showed where hidden riches and oil deposits were located. And she said, "Give me the money, I'll give you advance copy of the book. You can figure out where these gold mines and these oil deposits are. Happy days, except it won't be so happy because it'll be the end of days for those who aren't believers." But I guess he was a believer.
So he was going to get rich and keep his life.
And die trying.
Yeah.
Not die trying. And everyone else is going to die. So why does he worry about getting rich? Just rich amongst the 100 people who were in the cult, I suppose.
Yeah.
So going back to Willa Rhodes, the police were investigating these 2 women, leaders of the cult, the Great 11, a.k.a. Blackburn Cult, because Dabney had obviously brought these charges against them.
Well, because he gave them the money, said, "Where's the goddamn book?" And she went, "Fuck you."
Where's the goddamn book? Exactly. He also gave 164 acres of land in the Santa Susana area of Simi Valley in Ventura County because May Otis promised him this advance copy. So he thought, well, this is, what do you call it? Invest to invest. What's it called when they...
Well, it's an investment.
Diversify to... What do you call it?
We've got to spend money to make money.
Spend money to make money. That's what he's thinking. So he donated the land, which then became the home of the cult members. These 100 cult members or so, they built pioneer-style cabins while they were waiting for Christ to return. And they also built a temple as well with a really elaborate golden throne, which was also for Christ to sit on when he arrived.
Outside a log cabin.
Yeah. No, it's a temple. It's probably gorgeous. Of course,
all right.
In true cult style, the members were made to work at a nearby tomato packing plant and hand over all their hard-earned wages to the Blackburns, which included May's new much younger husband, who has outrageous facial hair, Michelle. You should include a picture. It looks like Peter Pettigrew from Harry Potter. It doesn't look great.
Oh, not outrageous in a... Ooh.
No, it's quite distressing. Oh. And he's also her stepbrother.
Oh.
And possibly a beard, if you know what that is.
Yes.
Like not really a husband, just it was mutually beneficial for both of them to marry each other because it would get people off their backs for various reasons, of which I am unsure of because of the aged story situation, the history being a bit wibbly-wobbly.
And you didn't manage to get down to the library to look at those microfiche?
I did not. Sadly, we had a week to prepare for this. It's just a bit about May, pre-cult May Blackburn. She was married at 16 years old and her husband was quite the ruffian. He used to go away for work a lot, and once she got a letter which said that he'd been killed in a workplace incident or a fight of some kind.
Okay.
So she sent her baby Ruth to be raised by her family and went off and found herself another husband to marry, and he was wealthy.
Yay! We like those.
Good on her. So that all worked well, and she managed to get rich through him. And then one day, the initial husband who died in the workplace accident, well, he turned up because she'd faked the letter. It was faked.
No!
Yeah. And that was it. So she did a runner from that one. But then she remarried another rich guy. and then another one, and then another one. She was pretty good at this.
Did they all end up dying, or?
No, they didn't die. I think just every now and again she'd get what she needed and then do another runner.
Right.
And all the while the daughter was younger, she would pass her off as her sister.
Oh.
But then eventually, I think she did marry someone and he adopted the daughter. And that was all great. And the daughter was gorgeous and she loved her very much. And at one point they moved from Oregon to LA because this is the time of oil fields and Hollywood. And Ruth wanted to make it in the movies. So May, who was pretty fucking rich by this point because she kept marrying rich men and running away from them, paid for 2 movies to be made for Ruth to star in and for May to direct. And they were called Nugget in the Rough and Tale of a Dress.
Well,
didn't really set the world on fire.
I was going to say, no Academy Awards there. MGM were like, pass. Can you imagine being rich enough, though, to make
your own movie?
2 movies?
I know. But she wasn't rich after that, Michelle. She did not spend money to make money in that occasion because she had no hubby. She'd gone off to do this vanity project and they were broke, flat broke.
Yeah.
Around this time, I think this was when they had met some new guys. They weren't as rich, but then they had the visit from the angels. Suddenly.
She's a hustler.
She's a fucking hustler, man.
Yeah.
This woman, she knew what she was doing. So here comes Gabriel and his friends. They asked her to write the book that would change everything. And they must have been quite persuasive because they got fellow members on board and managed to amass, like I said, around 100 members and get them to move out to the Simi Valley. Obviously, payment for being in the cult was hand over all your goods and chattels, plus your wages, by the way. And fun rituals, though, to make it worthwhile for being in this cult, would be you'd like this one, Michelle, don a robe of an evening. Of an evening, they'd slip on a robe. I'm imagining it's terry toweling.
I'm imagining a silk smoking jacket.
Oh, no, I think it's more of a cuddly, furry, slightly greying, bit like yours. Terry toweling robe.
Outrageous.
Because this is what they do with them. They go outside to a natural amphitheatre, which I imagine is quite dusty, and they dance naked. They slip the robe off and off they go. Dance about naked, but that's not all they do. They would also sacrifice animals, which I don't love. I don't love that.
No, I don't love that.
No, they would sacrifice mules and other creatures, poor creatures, and I think maybe...
Mules?
Yeah.
That's huge.
I know, it's big, isn't it?
That's not a chicken.
No, there's 100 people. They've got all hands on deck. And I assume that some people didn't like that either because sometimes they would instead sacrifice cars and trucks. Also big.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smash them up.
That's better. That's kind of fun. I don't mind that.
But then allegations of cult members meeting untimely ends began to surface. There was one lady, Frances Turner. She was mute and paralyzed, been in a wheelchair for years, and her sister or cousin had asked May to cure her. So May got the members to build an oven made of bricks, like a square thing with some chicken wire on and stuff, stuck her in this hot brick oven for 2 days to cure her. But of course, it wasn't a cure. No.
She got cooked.
Pretty much. She died in agony within 2 hours, not 2 days, thank God, of being placed in this oven. And when May realized she was dead, she just did a runner. But before, she just told the cult, get rid of that body and can you dismantle the oven? And I tell you what, with those bricks, you can just build it into what we've already got, make it into a walkway, make it into an archway, whatever, just get rid of it. It reminded me, and spoiler alert, of that Roald Dahl short story about the woman who kills her husband. And then when the police come around to investigate, they all eat the murder weapon, which was a leg of lamb.
Leg of mutton, I believe.
Leg of mutton. Was it?
Leg of mutton.
A leg of mutton.
Do you remember like a mutton sleeve? Do you remember?
Yes,
that was
I love a mutton sleeve.
Do you love a mutton sleeve?
I do.
Actually, you had one in Greece, a leg of mutton sleeve. One of my favourite Roald Dahl stories. Do you remember the other one? I quite like this one.
The lighter.
What's that one?
Where they're doing lots of bets and things and they have to flick this Zippo lighter on 10 times without it failing. And if it fails, they've got to chop off a finger.
Oh, my God.
And this guy takes on the bet and this woman, when in the end she reveals that she's got no fingers left on her hand. I actually did a version of that in front of my English class with Zippo.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I did a monologue.
I don't even know that story. I'm going to have to look that one up. No, this is the one where there's just a guy who works at a company, and he's just a lowly kind of clerk, and he gets invited to the big boys hunting lodge. You know, it's like a reward for doing good work. So he's really excited. He tells his wife, we've got to spend all our savings, and I've got to get like a proper hunting jacket and, you know, the clothes and everything, because I could get a raise. And he's all excited. Anyway, he goes to this hunting lodge. He's what's being hunted.
That's what I just figured out just seconds before you said that. This is very Charlie Brooker as well, isn't it? What's his TV show called? Black Mirror. Well, listen, they're all nice and dark, suitably dark for this dark, dark cult. I'm going to carry on. Apart from poor Frances Turner, who was cooked in that oven, 4 other cult members were reported missing in mysterious circumstances. By the way, they never found her body, so try proving that.
They gave it to the pigs.
It's all circumstantial.
They gave it to the pigs.
Maybe. One of the people missing was Ruth's husband, a man called Samuel Rizzio. And witnesses reported that his disappearance happened after he hit his wife. And although no body was ever found, it was said that around that time, May had asked her cult members to fetch her chloroform and poison.
She's not being careful, is she?
Well, the thing is, she probably trusts her cult members, I'd say. All of this information started coming out once May Otis Blackburn was taken into custody by the police. So all of these other people are coming in and giving testimonies. And that's what led them to discover Willa Rhodes' tomb. And everything then started to crumble for the Blackburn cult. Willa's mother told police that Blackburn told her that Willa, because Willa was respected and adored by May Otis Blackburn, she actually called her a high priestess of the cult. So when this girl dies of a tooth infection, it doesn't look good for the high priestesses or the cult generally.
Okay.
That's why when she died, May told the parents she will be resurrected and told them what to do. So the husband built this copper-lined casket, filled it with ice, which was not easy if you think about it. In the 20s, there was no freezers in houses in those days.
No.
They had to get it like shipped in and stuff. So for more than a year, they transported this casket every time they moved house, which apparently was frequently. And then when the resurrection didn't appear to be happening, they finally buried this girl's body, like I said, under the floorboards 14 months after she died. It was reported also, and I don't know how accurate this is, that the day Willa died, the parents actually moved her body in their car, sitting upright, wrapped in a blanket, and witnesses just assumed she was still alive.
Oh.
But that's unsubstantiated, yeah. 2 days after the police discovered Willa, on October 9, police were still scratching their heads over these 4 missing cult members. So they couldn't find the body of Frances Turner, although they'd heard the distressing story. There's another lady called Harleen Sartoris, no sign of her. Catherine Bolts, no sign of her. And Addie McGuffin. The problem was there was no bodies. So the cops went to the Santa Susana Hills cult colony, did some digging, and it turns out that Harleen Sartoris had arrived at the cult colony after being released from an asylum in Oregon. She had both medical and mental issues and died from either a gastric illness or heart troubles on colony grounds. That's what they were told.
Okay.
No body, still no body. Catherine Bolts, however, she was never found and may have never existed because apart from some newspaper articles, there's really no records of her anywhere. No census records, no family.
Yeah, but you know what? It is the 20s, and I'm not sure that, you know, everything was documented. Yeah, you could slip through the net, I would say. So, well, I don't know. She maybe existed, maybe not, but people back then didn't even get a birth certificate automatically. You know, you didn't have to be born in a hospital. You didn't have to be registered. I mean, I'm sure you did, but you could just not.
You could make it up, couldn't you? I suppose.
You could.
Well, as for the 4th person, Addie McGuffin, she turned up alive and well in the 30s and rejoined the cult. And no one knows where she'd been, but the cult supposedly asked her to hide the only draft of the Sixth Seal book from authorities.
Because I was thinking the book doesn't even exist.
Well, turns out there is a book and it's got lots of scribbles and writings and whatnots all over the front of it, but apparently the rest of it's just empty pages.
Of course it is. It's a scam. Scam.
So Mary Otis Blackburn finally stood trial in 1930 and was convicted and sent to prison for 14 years for each count of embezzlement, but was released on appeal in 1931 by the California Supreme Court, which ruled that the cult deaths and disappearances which were raised during the trial were not actually what she was on trial for and were inconsequential to the initial fraud charge against her. And these charges would have certainly prejudiced the jury. So that was it. She was allowed to go because religious freedom, which came into question in the court, basically, as an American, anyone is free to give away as much money as they want to whatever religious leader that they want. And Dabney was of sound mind at the time he handed over the money. And as such, he did so willingly. And it wasn't seen as fraud. So off you pop, out you go. Regarding the disappearance of Samuel Rizzio in 1924, though, there was no evidence that he was poisoned at all, and they couldn't find his body. So no charges pressed against any member of the cult for his disappearance and possible murder. But his brother Frank managed to convince May Blackburn to give him a job as her driver. But really, he was just doing investigations into his brother's death, trying to uncover evidence, which apparently he did, but he couldn't ever bring it to court, unfortunately. So she's as guilty as sin, according to all this, but no one could nail her.
She's smart.
She is a smart cookie. So she may have been exonerated, but the publicity and the scandal around her case decimated her following. And in 1936, she finally got to publish a book. Not that book. It was a different one.
Right.
And it's called The Origin of God. And she died in Los Angeles in 1951. I can't remember how old she was. I think she was only, I can't remember, can't do the maths. But I will tell you that there is a book by Samuel Fort about them, if you'd like to know more.
I had never heard of that cult.
Good.
I think she's getting rid of these bodies.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how, more than like feeding to the piggies. How do you get rid of it? I mean, look, back then you could dig up a tree and stick a body underneath. No one would find it.
Yeah.
But
no one would think to.
No.
And there's no forensics. There's no surface imaging machines or anything.
And it's 100 years ago. How crazy is that?
I know.
When you talk about the 20s, it sort of seems like modern history, but it's 100 years. It's kind of crazy. Well, really interesting story.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So there you go. Where do you go? There you go.
There you are.
So there you go.
There you go. I know we talked about doing conspiracy theories this week. And it was because my wonderful friend Monique sent me a link to a Metro article recently saying, you should look into this because it's weird. So, Monique, here it is. I'm looking at a strange little conspiracy theory that reckons that if your blood type is Rhesus Negative, you are descended from aliens.
Okay, yep, I get that. Yep, I would think that too.
What do you mean?
Well, that's something I've often thought, to be honest with you. And I'm not, as you know, I'm a bit of a skeptic. But I have often thought that Rhesus Negative is not originally from this planet.
Eavesdroppers can't see me. I'm open-mouthed here. I cannot believe I'm hearing this from you. What the hell?
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah. It's such an unusual thing. Well, because all the others, like I'm O, and I think that's...
How do you even
I think
know?
I belong here on Earth because I had babies. They tell you. And it's good to know, Michelle. It's good to know should you need a blood transfusion in a hurry. And also, if you're Rhesus Negative and you're pregnant, you have to have an injection because the baby will be, something happens. I can't remember.
Well, I've got all
Something
that
bad
info.
happens. Yeah.
I've got that info coming up. I have to say, I'm really shocked that you think Rhesus Negative people are basically aliens. But do you know what? You're not the only one.
Well, no, I wouldn't say aliens. I would say not originating 100% from this planet. I don't know if that makes you an alien.
No, descended from aliens.
Again, I wouldn't say that.
Is what? Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying I think that they have descended from something that, okay, let's call it an alien for want of a better word. I don't like the use of the word alien in this case.
I know, but what else could you...
Something that's not originally from the planet, but is now. Yeah, like space dust. causes something to grow differently.
A little tardigrade.
A tardigrade,
Or
a meteor, that kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay.
Not like, I'm going to use the word Prometheus again. I know we just spoke about him earlier, but there's a film called Prometheus, which gives an alternative version of how humanity was formed. And it's because of these weird looking aliens. And then they try and kill it because they keep getting it wrong.
So it could be one of Prometheus's aliens who was Rhesus Negative.
It was a mud sculpture gone wrong and he tried to get rid of it. I don't know.
I am gobsmacked, Geordie. I never thought I would hear you say something like that because
I've explored it in my mind and then obviously dropped it like a hot potato and moved on to something else like maths.
Oh, yes, that's another conversation. But I had never really thought about it. There's apparently a little pocket of conspiracy theorists on the internet who, like I said, if you're Rhesus Negative, you're descended from aliens, which means, I don't know my blood type. If I'm Rhesus Negative,
You can't even say it.
I could be part alien and not even know it.
Rhesus.
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 Well, look, do you know what? I did a little digging into this. And to be honest, there is actually not that much on the internet about this.
So you had to make it up?
No, I think it's a little bit underground. I think it's a bit of an underground thought and theory. And I think it's either being kept really secret or people think it's total bullshit. Look, I'm going to get a little bit sciencey first because I didn't know anything about blood. So here's a little roundup.
You don't need to know. You don't need to fill your little head with things like that, Michelle. You don't need to know how things work.
No, it just works.
What keeps an aeroplane in the sky and what keeps your lungs moving to bring the air in and out.
How does TV work? No, I don't. No, but look, I didn't know. Maybe I'm a bit stupid, but I'm going to give a roundup for other dummy eavesdroppers like me. 4 main groups, A, B, or O, and then you can have negative or positive. So the way blood type is determined is they look at the protein molecules found on the surface of your red blood cells, which can either be A or B. But some people have A and B, and some people have no proteins, which make them type O, which is you.
Oh, me, yeah.
Which is basically 0. Also, inside your blood are antibodies, and they are part of the body's immune system, which are also A and B types. So a person with type A blood has B antibodies. And if you're a type B blood person, you have A antibodies. And people with O blood have A and B antibodies.
That's why we're the warriors.
Right. So you've looked into this. You've looked into all this blood stuff. Really?
I just know a bit. There's the blood type diet as well. That's another thing I've been into in the 90s.
Oh, right. I've never even sort of heard much about that. Okay. So then if you have type AB blood, you have no A or B antibodies. You've got other types of antibodies for your immune system. It all gets kind of complicated, which is why a little bit like you said before about blood transfusions, if you need one, you kind of need to know because there are combinations and it gets a bit mucky, a bit murky.
Yeah. I think some types can have either or. I can't remember which ones.
Well, if you have type A blood and you get a type B blood transfusion, the A antibodies in the plasma will attack and destroy the blood cells, which means you're fucked.
Okay, so that's not good. Yeah.
But in 1940, 2 scientists called Carl Landsteiner and Alex Wiener discovered that even though they were doing everything right with their blood pairings in relation to blood transfusions, things were going wrong. And that's when they discovered this other antigen, which they called antigen D, which is known as Rhesus, RH. And they named it after dudes, Carl and Alexander, were doing animal testing on macaques.
Monkeys.
So that's why it's called Rhesus. It's just a bit of fun kind of thing. Most people who have this antigen are RH positive, Rhesus positive, but to have Rhesus positive blood is rare. And in any kind of population, give or take, 93% of the population will be either A, B, AB, O, or RH, and it could be plus, right? And then all of those blood types can receive Rhesus positive or negative transfusions. But there's 7% of the population that has rhesus negative blood, and unlike everyone else, they can only get blood from rhesus negative donors. So that all sounds pretty logical. And apparently all these blood types can be traced back to specific parts of the planet and cultures. But like you have alluded to, no one knows where or how rhesus negative blood evolved.
Okay.
Cue the internet and the conspiracy theory that maybe millions of years ago, aliens landed on Earth, had babies with humans, mixed up the DNA with ours, and that they're the ones that have rhesus negative blood. And, of course, there's a TikTok video that has blown up and gone viral that shows a clip from a TV show from 2009 called Ancient Aliens.
Love that. Never seen it, but I want to watch it so bad.
It aired on the History Channel, and there were all of these experts on the show who talk about how aliens could have been visiting Earth for millions of years and how either through aliens shagging humans or maybe through something a bit more sinister like aliens experimenting with genetic engineering on us. That's how they think rhesus negative blood could have been created, which is why only a small percentage of people have this rare type of blood and are therefore descended from aliens. Now, there's a bit of evidence that they point to for this, which is hemolytic anemia, otherwise known as rhesus disease, which, like you alluded to before, can happen in unborn babies. It's basically where if the mother has rhesus negative blood, the mother's immune system destroys the rhesus positive baby's blood cells faster than they can be replaced, which can either make the baby really, really sick or kill the unborn baby. And if you believe the online conspiracy theories, they say that the mother is rejecting the baby because they are different species. But scientists just say it's not that. It's just a really sad fucking twist of nature that a mother is rejecting the baby. So the conspiracy theorists also reckon that people with Rh negative blood are also more likely to have an extra vertebrae in their back.
Oh.
Apparently it's a real thing, but there's no scientific evidence that links that extra vertebrae to any particular blood type, including rhesus negative.
Okay. I'll ask my osteopath about that.
Yes, do. Because maybe that's, I mean, if there's any legs to this theory, he would be able to feel if there's an extra vertebrae and go, rhesus negative.
Well, he does do things like that when he does treatments. He says things like, for example, all the men in my family, in my biological family, on my father's side and me, are hypermobile. And it's because we have a bit of strawberry blonde kind of aspect through our genetics. And he said that ginger people, that they're descendant from, I think, Vikings and are hypermobile. This is what he says. I don't know how accurate that is, but he is a man of science, the old osteopath.
He is a man of science. I like that theory. I'm hypermobile. I don't think I have any ginge in me, but could be.
Never know.
Could be on my mum's side. Who knows? Hiding in the genetics.
Amongst the grey wigs and the Hollywood blondes, there's a bit of ginger in there, Jen.
Jen the ginge.
Ginger Jen.
Well, do you know what? There's this other thing that is real. And apparently loads of us, loads of humans have DNA in their bodies from another species.
I love that.
It's not aliens, though.
Like what? Armadillo?
Well, Neanderthals.
Horse.
I know it's not part. Yeah. I'm part horse. I identify as a horse. Well, look, and they say that if, you have sort of genes and are descended from Europe or Asia, which is fucking huge, you could have up to 4% Neanderthal DNA in your cells.
Because they were another species. And then was it Cro-Magma? What was the other thing that came along? The Homo sapien.
This was Homo mobila or something. I don't know. Yes.
Oh, dear. We do need a scientist to write in, I'm afraid.
Where are you, Neil, where we need you the most? But I will say scientists apparently do say that rhesus negative and Neanderthal DNA is not connected. So don't mix them up.
They're not the aliens.
No. But I will say a scientific possible explanation is, and they say this is plausible for rhesus negative blood, they say it all comes down to gene mutation. And they liken it to eye color to kind of put their theory into context.
Okay.
So apparently the first humans all have brown eyes until around 6 to 10,000 years ago, when a genetic mutation reduced the amount of melanin to the eyes, which saw some people being born with blue eyes, which then also became green and hazel eyes. And they say it's the same with rhesus negative blood. Shit happens.
Yeah.
You've got all this blood and then there's a little genetic twist, a little genetic mutation. That's where rhesus negative came from. But regardless, scientists, and this is a fact, will put up their hand and say they do not know where rhesus negative blood comes from. They don't know where that blood type originated. But whether it's aliens or not is still out there. So
where's the cult?
It's not a cult. It's a conspiracy theory week.
Oh.
That's the conspiracy theory. But look, I got dragged into a wormhole because this has nothing to do with blood, but a little bit to do with aliens and nothing to do with conspiracy. And this is namely the question, are aliens among us?
Are they among us? Like, is that a yes or no answer, or am I supposed to answer it now?
Well, what do you think? Do you think they're out there? Is it a little bit like...
I do. I've said it before. I've said I do think there are species that probably live amongst us and they're not furry puppets like Alf. I had this conversation with Ray recently when he stood in for you. They're not little furry puppets. They might be a tardigrade. They might be an ant. They might be a speck of dust.
Yes.
That kind of thing. It's something that we just assimilated as ours and live with.
Yes. Well...
There's no invasion.
No. I did read a CBS News article online recently. There was a paper published from researchers at Harvard University. And I will say that Harvard is very keen to point out that the paper is by their researchers, but not affiliated with the university. So they've kind of published this paper off their own bat. But basically, after all the UFO and UAP interest from the US government last year, these researchers say that the US government is tracking more than 650 potential UFOs right now.
Huh? Right. Wow.
Yeah. And a Pentagon official has actually backed up that stat.
Oh, my God.
Last year. Now, these two Harvard researchers are called Tim Lomas and Brendan Case.
Oh, I know those names so
really?
Well. Yes, I think we've mentioned them before.
Maybe. Well, they've teamed up with a Montana Technological University professor called Michael Masters, who is a biological anthropologist.
I feel like I've actually brought those three names to a story recently.
On cryptoterrestrial hypothesis?
I don't think I brought up their hypothesis. Go on, tell us all about it.
Well, they came up with this thing, cryptoterrestrial hypothesis.
Yes.
It's basically, they've posited the theory that intelligent beings responsible for creating the UFOs in the first place might be concealed in stealth. That's a quote.
Yeah.
Either here on Earth or somewhere nearby, which means either these aliens or cryptoterrestrials are hiding underground, or they're on the far side of the moon where we can't see them and they can't see us, or they're hiding in plain sight, a bit like that 80s alien show called V, which we have talked about before.
Oh, right, yes.
Just walking among us, passing themselves off as humans.
Members of the royal family, etc.
Exactly, Queen as a lizard. They say all those cockpit videos of UAPs that are captured by the military, and we all seen those.
They're just ducking out for Domino's.
Well, what, the aliens?
How they get around.
The aliens are like, oh, I need a pizza, stuffed crust pizza. Well, they say, who's inside? Who's inside all of those cockpit, alien UFO videos? And they say, is it human-made technology or, quote, something from an advanced civilization in another part of space?
Oh.
Now, look, Michael Masters is quick to say that what they're saying is not 100% a done deal. It's a what if.
Yeah.
That, could help to explain the origin of whoever is flying that shit around the military planes. And he also says that aliens may actually just be humans from far, far, far in the future.
I often say that. In fact, I think that's what I did take from their report to use in our last episode about
time travel,
UFOs and aliens.
And maybe time travel, because they say basically these humans have figured out how to time travel. We're like, who the fuck are they? Basically, they're humans from the future.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have talked about that on this very podcast. Don't ask me when. Michael says that he's come up with this theory because when people who say they've seen an alien, they describe beings that kind of look like humans. And in his words, he says it's highly unlikely that aliens looking like humans would be from another planet. Quote,
they'd have to be from this planet.
Yeah. He says, quote, it may simply be that they are us. And he speculates that they've gone underground until we are ready for contact. You know, kind of crazy. And so I think, you know, we talk about this stuff. Maybe there's something in it. Maybe there's not. But while I was digging in the dirt with all of this stuff.
In the mud, in the poo, yes.
In the mud, in the poo, I did come across something called the Black Knight satellite conspiracy theory.
Oh, okay.
I'd never heard of it before. In a nutshell, it's a conspiracy that claims that a UFO manned by aliens is in near polar orbit of the Earth and that NASA is covering up its existence and origin, and it all goes back to a photo that was taken during something called the ST-88 mission in 1998, which apparently clearly shows that there is this thing called the Black Knight satellite. But NASA has also seen this photo. They've catalogued whatever is in that photo as space junk.
Right.
This is where the whole fracas comes apart because there's a journalist called James Oberg who thinks it's space junk, most probably a thermal blanket that was reportedly lost during the STS-88 mission. However, obviously, according to conspiracy theorists, and this is all logged on Wikipedia, I'll put a link on the Patreon, those people think the Black Knight is an artificial satellite of extraterrestrial origin that has been orbiting Earth for 13,000 years.
Oh, and still they haven't made an approach. They haven't stuck their hand out to say how do.
No, they have not. But it all sounds quite far-fetched. And there are people who poo-poo the whole theory. And they reckon the conspiracy is just a bunch of unrelated stories that have been tied up together to create this Black Knight conspiracy theory. And the first story goes back to 1899 when Nikola Tesla was doing radio experiments and heard sounds that he thought was extraterrestrial, just repeating over and over natural sounds. Although people have said that those radio signals were pulsars, but no one's really sure. It could even have been interference. Then in 1954, a UFO researcher called Donald Kehoe told newspapers that the US Air Force had detected 2 satellites that were orbiting Earth. And this was massive news at the time because it's 1954 and no country had the technology to launch a satellite, not even the USA. And the news story was never backed up by the US government. They'd never put their hand up and said, oh, yep, that's us. We had those 2 satellites. But, you know, Geordie, we've covered this a lot. At the time, they weren't putting their hand up for anything.
And what's going on now with this Black Knight? It's really interesting that they should say that it's been there for ages and there's covering. I do think, I don't know, I just feel like we keep hearing it over and over. They're waiting for us to get our heads around it. I mean, come on. We've got our heads around it. It's fine. Just come. Just show yourself if it's the truth.
Well, I mean, I just think it's bullshitty. It just sounds...
It's bullshit.
It sounds bullshitty.
Exactly.
There are all sorts of other stories going on too. Like there's another one. Apparently a British rocket was called the Black Knight. It was used in something called the Blue Streak missile program.
Yes, I've talked about that.
Between 1958... and 1965.
I talked about that and Kehoe, actually. All of this is very familiar.
Kehoe, I know you've talked about. Apparently, this mission was to test re-entry vehicles. So it's not about satellites. It's about rockets coming back in.
Was this in Australia?
Well, it's a British rocket program, but God knows, it could have been.
Yeah. The Blue Streak mission, I'm pretty sure, was when I told you about the picture of the spaceman that occurred behind the little girl that was picking flowers. And then they saw the same spaceman walking across the tarmac in Australia when they were also doing the Blue Streak missile tests.
Okay.
Or rocket tests, yeah.
Well, do you know what? It could very well have been Australia. I don't have that information. I didn't look it up. Sorry. So, Blue Streak, Blue Missile, Black Knight. Is it a missile? How is that a satellite?
Or is it just a colour combo?
I think people have joined some dots there, but maybe they shouldn't have. I don't know. But then, February 1960, Time magazine apparently reported that the US Navy had detected what they thought was a Soviet spy satellite in orbit. Now, of course, people went crazy because all the Cold War stuff was happening at that time. But that actually turned out to be space junk and bits of a USA Air Force Discoverer 8 satellite that had gone kind of astray. So it wasn't aliens and it wasn't the Russians. But was it the Black Knight? Is it the Black Knight? Don't know.
Down, 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 down. That just makes me think of that every time you say it.
Really?
Yeah, Black Knight.
Doesn't make you think of Knight Rider?
No, it makes me think of the song Black Knight by Black Sabbath.
I'll put a link to that.
It is called that, isn't it?
They don't even need to hear the song because you just gave a very good rendition. But in 1963, astronaut Gordon Cooper apparently saw a UFO.
Deep Purple. Sorry, it's Deep Purple.
Deep Purple, Black Sabbath. It was because we wanted it to be Black Knight.
It is Black Knight. The song is called Black Knight by Deep Purple. Another colour combo.
Another colour combo with the blue streak. There we go. Not a brown streak.
Not the brown streak, just the blue one.
Nobody wants those. But this astronaut, Gordon Cooper, he says he saw a UFO while he was in orbit in Mercury 9. That was the little missile he was in.
He's in a missile? Oh,
rocket he was in.
Right.
He was in a rocket.
We're getting shit wrong left, right and centre here, Michelle.
I know, God.
It's a classic dinner party kamikaze situation.
I know. I need a glass of wine to get my head straight. He said he saw something in the sky and he didn't know what it was. And he reported it. But according to Wikipedia, there is no concrete evidence that he either A, saw a UFO at all, or B, made a report about it. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's Chinese whispers, but as we know, it could all have been logged and reported, but the US government could have lost the file or classified it weirdly or, you know, whatever.
Buried it.
So just because there's no paper trail doesn't mean it didn't happen. There are other things about sounds that people have heard and they attribute it to this whole Black Knight satellite. Aliens out there waiting for us to be ready, waiting to enter the Earth, just hanging around. Or is it a space blanket?
What's a space blanket?
That's what they said. They said this guy, the journalist.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his face?
I must have missed that part of the story. Space blanket?
Yes. James Oberg basically said...
It's a blanket.
It's a blanket because a thermal blanket was apparently lost on that mission.
Oh, I see.
And look, I've seen the picture. I'm going to put it on the Patreon. I mean, it could be a little blankie. I don't know. It could be a satellite. You know, it's like a weird photo. There's only one. Honestly, why are there always only one of these things?
Yeah. Snap away, guys. Snap away. Don't just do the one.
Snap, snap, snap. I know. We need from all angles.
From underneath, from above, from the side. Not that side, the other side.
It's that whole thing of, come on, if you really want someone to believe... Get some more evidence.
Yeah.
Show us.
It's also tenuous.
So there you go. We've had a blood conspiracy. We've got an alien satellite conspiracy and aliens walking among us.
I wonder what people think. I guess you could just write in and tell us.
Oh, please do. We love it when you do.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, it's time to goodbye. What? It's time to say goodbye.
It's time to wrap everybody up in a little space
blanket.
And just say those 3 little phrases. Wherever you are.
Whatever you do, just keep eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping.